Hi guys, welcome to Crazy Burger. We've got the two latest carts from Evercade, Tomb Raider Collection 2 and Atari Arcade 2 with 10 games. In this video, this is the one we're going to be looking at. We'll also have a look at the Evercade Cap that came as part of the deal with these two collections. Without further ado, let's get stuck into this cart. Okay guys, so before we get stuck into Atari Arcade 2, let's have a quick look at the baseball cap that came part of the deal with Tomb Raider Collection 2 and Atari Arcade 2 from Funstock. It's a fairly standard baseball cap, fairly sturdy at the front here. It's got that sort of purple tinge, which I guess it's sort of pointing to the sort of Evercade Arcade label. Now if you're wondering what this says, through the translator it's basically Evercade but in Japanese. I'm not sure if that's relating to some of the Japanese developers we have on board, such as Tourplan. Maybe that's a nod to them, maybe it's a nod to something else coming on Evercade at some point, or maybe it just means absolutely nothing, who knows. Anyway, it's quite cool, and it's got that nice sort of purple part on the back as well. It is a nice sort of baseball cap. Will I wear it in public? Probably not. Why did I buy it then? Who the heck knows. Okay, so let's have a look at Atari Arcade 2. Now, I wasn't a huge fan of Atari Arcade 1. When it was released at the time, there was a few emulation issues and it was a bit of a nightmare to play. But this one is definitely an improvement, in my opinion. A lot of these games are from Stern, which Atari, I believe, purchased. This is cart number 14 on the purple label. Yep, we're up to 14 collections on the arcade label, which is absolutely amazing. Now, one thing I'd love to point out here is that finally we have the game list back on these cartridges. Now, if you've been watching my channel, I have highlighted the fact that the game list is completely missing. If you've picked this up in the shop, you'll have no clue what's actually on the collection. So gladly, the list of the games is now included here with a few screenshots as well. So thanks Blaze for adding that back. Certainly massively helpful. But yeah, nice cover. I love the design of this. Let's have a look inside the box. As usual, we have the lovely cartridge, and looks like we have some stickers and your usual manual with this one. So we've got some nice stickers. We've also got some promotion details here. It's actually stuck, funny enough, the stickers. Yep, we've got some information there if you want to download the latest wallpapers or something. We've got some stickers. We've got Berzerk, Moon War, and Lost Tomb, I think that is, and Frenzy. Nice stickers. I guess you could also put these onto your Evercade Alpha at the side, or just collect them for future use, which is probably what I'll probably do. Now, again, we've got a nice in-depth manual. We'll have a quick browse at that. It gives you some information about the Atari sort of back label and these games that are included here. We've got Berzerk. A lot of these games are quite old, so again, they probably won't be for everyone. These games are going all the way back to the early 80s. Some of them might even be late 70s, I think. So even though some of them don't look like they've dated well, the gameplay in them are really very addictive stuff. Like Frenzy and Berzerk are solid titles, but very, very addictive stuff indeed. Now, interestingly enough, also the dip switches will be available for this game as well. I'll try and have a look in the video at this. Hopefully some of the sort of games will be made a little bit easier with the dip switches. Sometimes not. It's just really giving you extra lives at a better time with the sort of changing the high score sort of targets and stuff. Lost Tomb. We've got Moon War, which is quite interesting. Look at all the different controls. Quite a lot of controls for these, which hopefully these games do emulate better than they did with Atari Arcade 1 at the time of release, that is. We've got Dark Planet, which is interesting. This is the one that has the multi sort of layered backgrounds. We've got Rescue. We have Minefield. Now, some of the games are quite similar. Like Minefield and Rescue look like they almost are the same game, to be honest. And I think you can play these games in Tate mode as well, because maybe on the handheld it would be better. We've got Fire Truck. And this is probably the oldest game here. I think this was one from 1978. And it certainly does look like it's aged a little bit. We've got monochrome graphics there. Got Maze Invaders. I'm sure some of these games might have been unreleased originally in the arcade. So there's might be some exclusives here for here. There's some new information there about cart care. Don't unplug cartridges while playing a game. Yeah, that probably isn't a good idea because you might corrupt the cart and it might not work. Ensure connectors are clean and free of dirt. Don't open or tamper with the cartridge. Oops. Don't turn device off while saving. Yeah, some good tips there that if you do that, it'll probably stop the cart from working completely. So let's have a quick look at some of these games working on the EXP, and then we'll get them on the big screen and play through them properly, and I'll give you my opinions as we go. Now here we have it on the EXP. Now, I think a few of these games might not be ideal for the Super Pocket. If you do follow me for that, it probably won't be ideal due to the fact some of the graphics are pretty small. We don't obviously have Tate mode available on the Super Pockets. But let's have a quick bash at Berzerk before we jump on to the VS. Again, arcade game, so remember to press the select button to insert coin, then press the start button to get started. Absolutely love the sort of old style synthesizer voice on Frenzy and Berzerk. Really cool. And even though these games have obviously graphically dated quite badly, they are still really addictive and fun to play. Extremely difficult for sure, absolutely, but still quite addictive once you actually get into them. And obviously we have save states, so it can maybe help make a little bit of progress through the game. And yeah, you need to get to the exit as soon as possible before you get attacked by Professor Otto, I think it is, if I recall. Absolutely love the sound on this. The voices are quite laughable. Anyway, while we're here, I suppose I'll jump into the dip switches. Let's jump back to the main menu. Now if you go into the three dots here, you'll have the option to go into dip switch settings. Now make sure your devices are completely up to date with the firmware so that you can get access to all this stuff. Now, not all the games will have a sort of automatic easy mode. Some of them will just have stuff like this, that you get a bonus life at different points, so you can change that point. Some of them will be able to make the difficulty a little bit easier, but the options are kind of limited. And interestingly, there's options here to change the language to German, French and Spanish throughout these games. Now the dip switch options will vary from game to game. You just need to go in and have a look. If you're struggling, hopefully some of the more difficult games will have some easier settings to make them more accessible, because some of the games are really quite solid, as you'd expect from old style arcade stuff. Anyway guys, let's get this onto the VS and we'll go through the games one by one. Okay, first up we're going to look at Berzerk, and this one's all the way from 1980. Now the idea of the game is basically to escape each room. You can take out all the enemies if you wish, for extra bonus points. If you take too long, you will eventually get chased by Evil Otto. It's very simple to play. It's addictive as hell, and I really enjoyed it. Obviously, yes, it has dated quite badly, but those that speech samples are still brilliant, and there's quite a lot of different varieties throughout the game. They will sort of goad you and call you a chicken if you leave the room without destroying all the monsters. But still, I really enjoyed it, although it does get a little bit tedious after a while, and it gets very tough. The enemies will fire back at you, and that's when it gets excruciatingly difficult. You don't touch the walls, don't touch the enemies, don't touch the enemy firepower, obviously, and escape to the exit as soon as you possibly can. Probably a bit of a high score chaser, if I'm being brutally honest here, because I don't think the game has an actual end. I might be wrong. 64,000 different rooms. I don't think anyone's going to see the end of this game anytime soon. Still, it is good fun to still play, even after all these years.
Attack the intruder alert chicken. Fight like a robot. Got the humanoid. Got the intruder. Chicken. Fight like a robot. Got the chicken. Intruder alert chicken, fight like a robot. Got the humanoid. Got the intruder. the humanoid. Intruder got the humanoid. Got the intruder.
Okay, next up we're going to look at Dark Planet. Now this is the one that has the sort of simulated 3D effect background, and if you try to play this on emulation of any sorts, it will probably most likely be a dark or black background that you would get. Now the idea of the game is basically to destroy the enemy bases, which is all the stuff you see in red. Now Blaze have actually changed some of the colours here. I think originally it was red and blue perhaps. So the enemies that you can fire at on the sort of sky level are in green, which you use your missiles to destroy. On the base level, the red stuff, which you can see here, you need to use your fire lasers and hold down the button and basically destroy all the bases that they're trying to create. And the idea is to try and destroy the enemy bases. A very tricky game, which I really struggled to get into. It's extremely tough, and I'll be honest, I'm not really a huge fan of this game at all. I know some people out there may enjoy it, but I just couldn't get into it, and I really wasn't enjoying it. I found it quite tricky to get to grips with, and I didn't really see any satisfaction from getting anywhere with it. Although I could be wrong, but just me, I just didn't like this game at all. So next up we're going to look at Fire Truck, and this is definitely the oldest game on this collection, all the way from 1978. It does look a little bit dated, I guess, with the black and white style graphics, but I do like the simplicity of the actual game. You're just basically controlling this fire truck through the streets and trying to reach a sort of high score so they can move on to the next level, and avoid all the obstacles on your way, avoid hitting the sides, avoid going too fast and sliding into the walls. But this one, I think it probably struggles a little bit with the controls. I think if you go too fast, it is almost impossible to try and make it through the corners. They'll go too slow, you're never going to get enough score to actually get to the next level. So there's a fine line. I feel the sort of that Blaze have probably done the best they could with this game with the control wise. Given the fact it wasn't meant to be played on a D-pad, it just doesn't feel right. It's probably meant to have been played with some sort of steering wheel of some sorts, I guess. I'm not entirely sure. I don't remember the original arcade game, but it's okay. It's certainly not the best game in this collection. Worth a quick bash, but I don't think it's one of those games that many people will come back to at all. I might be wrong, but I just don't think it's one of those games that you'll get a heck of a lot of enjoyment out of. Okay, next up we're going to be looking at Frenzy. This is from 1982 and the sequel to Berzerk. It is pretty much a very similar game. Has a few subtle changes here and there. It still keeps the sort of speech samples as well, but it has a few different elements that certainly stand it apart from Berzerk. You can obviously fire against the wall, the white walls, and it will rebound all over the place and maybe take out some of the enemies. There's some destroyable walls as well. The purple walls you can actually destroy, but just beware, obviously the enemies can do the same thing as well, and you can even obviously take out yourself with your own firepower. I think the difficulty level is a lot higher within this game. It's definitely tougher. There's a few different elements as well. There's a few stages with some added sort of faces and different things. I'm not really sure there's much point to it, and again, just like the Berserk game, I'm not sure there's even an end to it. It just seems to keep on going. I might be wrong, maybe there is an end to this game. There's different sort of machinery rooms, there's computer room, there's a central terminal to confuse all the robots. I don't know, there's a few different aspects to the game I obviously need to explore a little bit more. I'm not sure which game I prefer. I think this game's a wee bit more complicated, I guess, and it's basically just the same game, but with added knobs on, and I still enjoyed it just as much as Berzerk.
Robot attack. Robot attack.
So moving on to The Lost Tomb. Now, interestingly enough, this game actually appeared on the Atari Super Pocket, although I wasn't really a huge fan. I think the issue I had with that is that the screen is far too small on the Super Pocket for this game, so it is really difficult to actually make out. However, now that I've played this on a larger screen, I actually really enjoyed it. It might even be one of my most favourite games on this collection. And interestingly enough, I do love the controls that Blaze have implemented here. It's almost like the Xenocrisis style controls that they've added, and it makes a massive difference to playing this game. So the idea is basically to try and collect some of the treasure chests. It does vary a little bit from level to level. Sometimes you just need to collect some treasure chests, get to the exit. Other times you need to clear the entire level and move on to the next stage. But I love the control method. Basically the face buttons are used for whatever direction you want to fire in, and it makes a huge difference. Yeah, you get slight Xenocrisis vibes, I guess, by utilising that, and it makes some difference. It makes the game incredibly playable and immensely enjoyable. Now you also have a whip button. I think it's like a mine button that you basically could destroy everything round about you by pressing the L1 button, I believe. But you can see at the bottom here, just get to the exit as quick as you possibly can. I'm not sure what else is going on here. As soon as you pick up other things, you get some time sort of things at the top. I'm not sure what's going on, to be honest. On these bonus stages, get to the exit room as quick as possible. Sometimes I felt the controls got a little bit sticky in those sort of stages there, but basically try and escape the rats as soon as possible. On this stage, you have to basically clear the room of all the enemies that you see here and collect the chest, and then the bottom exit will open up. And I have to say, I really actually enjoyed playing this, which surprised me because I didn't really get into it a lot on the Super Pocket. I just dismissed it completely, which is a shame because on a bigger screen, this game is really good fun to play. So next up, we're going to look at Maze Invaders. This is from 1981, and apparently it was never actually released as a full-scale arcade cabinet. It was rediscovered in 2014, and it also appeared on the Atari 50 collection, and that's when I first actually played it. I thought, wow, that was really good fun. A little bit of a strange oddity of a game. The controls are a little bit strange at times, sometimes don't feel completely responsive, but I still enjoyed it. It does give vibes of maybe like lock and chase type of thing. Collect all the fruit that you see on the screen, avoid the enemies. You can fire upon some of the enemies, sometimes they'll stop in their track if you fire them, sometimes it will destroy them, but they will probably reappear again. Once you collect all the fruit items, exits will open up. Some of them are different coloured, in this instance they are green, but sometimes they're different colours. I can't remember exactly the reasoning behind that. You'll get some pointers on the screen that will help you on your way. It does seem like one of those games that does keep on going, gets a little bit more difficult as you go. I really enjoyed it, to be honest. I think it's really, really good. Certainly one of the better games on the collection and quite addictive once you get started. I would give this one a massive thumbs up. It's really cool. So next up we've got Minefield. This one is from 1983. Now on the small screens, this one is a bit of a nightmare to actually play through due to the fact there's a lot of small sort of sprites, there's a lot of small sort of enemy firepower, mines that are really difficult to see, especially on the EXP, and most likely the Super Pocket as well would be a nightmare to play. Even on the bigger screens I felt this one was a struggle, so if you get bad eyesight this one probably won't be great for you. So the idea is you get dropped into enemy territory, you need to try and get to their base, avoid all the sort of round mines, you can collect the missiles which are the sort of triangular shaped items. Avoid all the enemy firepower from above. You can use the face buttons to fire in either direction, up, down, left and right, but obviously as soon as you fire on the enemies they will drop to the surface. You need to avoid them as well. There's so many things going on here. You can see the enemy firepower is almost impossible to see, so all those elements make this game extremely tricky to actually play through, and I have to be honest, I never made great progress with it. Being a certain age, your eyesight is just not the same as it used to be, so that's my excuse for not doing too well in this game. So if your eyesight is poor, you're probably going to struggle with this one, and you probably won't even know what killed you. It's that bad. I think there's a good game in here, but I think on the sort of smaller screens it's basically a nightmare to play through. Now, as we previously touched on, you can go into the dip switches of these games. They don't always make it easier, but look at the default difficulty on this game is easy. That's making me feel so bad. You can up the life count to 5 here, which will probably help a little bit, but the fact this is already easy is making me feel absolutely awful. So next up we're going to look at Moon War. This is from 1981 and it's a little bit best described as an asteroids-esque style game, and it was actually advertised with a blonde girl in a cropped t-shirt and hot pants with the slogan "The Ultimate Moonshot," and I did find that moonshot sort of poster here. Now if that doesn't entice you in to play the game, I don't know what will. Now the controls are pretty straightforward. You've got fire, you've got thrust, you can turn around your ship as well to face the opposite direction. Use the D-pad to rotate your ship. The idea is to try and protect your refueling stations on the moon, and then obviously look after your fuel as well, because that just constantly goes down. You can see at the top right hand corner of the screen. Once you've managed to protect your refueling base, you can land and refuel your ship, then move on to the next sort of base that they are most likely going to be under attack. I quite enjoyed the game, although I felt sometimes aiming at the enemies it just wasn't quite as accurate as I would like. So I think it's just really an age thing with the style game, but it's not bad. Once you get used to it, it's actually not too bad. I found it mildly amusing to actually play through. So next we're looking at Rescue, and this uses practically the same game engine as Minefield. It has the same graphics, the same sort of parallax scrolling, the same control methods as well. So use the face buttons to fire in whichever direction you're facing. And basically you're trying to rescue the fallen paratroopers that have fell into the ocean below. Avoiding all the sort of helicopter firepower, which you can barely see, which is another nightmare about this game, is the fact on small screens or on even the larger screens, the enemy firepowers are an absolute nightmare to actually see, which causes a little bit of frustration. Once you've taken out the enemy helicopters, pick up the sort of paratroopers and then move on to the next sort of goal, which is collect maybe 2 paratroopers, and then eventually a small island will magically appear in the middle of the oceans where you can drop off the rescued paratroopers. Then you can move on to the next target. It's a good fun simple game, but there are frustrations within the game. It's very difficult to see the graphics, and sometimes I feel that the fallen enemy helicopters, after you've took them out, just seem to automatically target you as they're falling, which is incredibly annoying. Still, there is some fun to be had from this. It's not too bad. So final game on this collection is Tazz Mania from 1982. Now, like a lot of the games on this collection, I wasn't really massively familiar with this one at all. That's not really a bad thing. The idea of the game is that the walls are continually closing in on you and you need to destroy all the enemies within that space. Then the exit will open at the top of the screen before you can then move on to the next level. I think there's 19 levels overall. They get a little bit more trickier as you go, as you would expect. Lots of enemies to take out. I actually really enjoyed this one. It was quite surprising. Lots of nice effects, quite nice graphics as well for the actual time period. Maybe it gives you slight Robotron vibes, I guess. Maybe even Star Wars vibes with the fact that the walls are closing in on us. But yeah, it's really enjoyable, great fun to play. And it's definitely one of the best games or better games on the collection. Okay, so my final thoughts on Atari Arcade 2. Now, I have to be honest, I actually preferred this collection to Atari Arcade 1. I think Blaze have done a really decent job with the controls and the emulation of the different games. I didn't enjoy all the games on the collection. I think there was a couple there that I really got a little bit frustrated with. I didn't really enjoy Dark Planet too much. I think the sort of truck game as well, Fire Truck, wasn't that enjoyable. Although they're not terrible games, I think if you put more time into them, you'll probably enjoy them. Really enjoyed such games as Maze Invaders. Lost Tomb was surprisingly really good fun. Even this game here we're looking at is great fun, Tazz Mania as well. Overall, a really decent collection. Obviously, if you're not really into these older style games, you don't see the first end, you probably won't get an awful lot about it. Although, I guess, like me, if you sort of like these type of games, I think you'll find some real decent gems here. Now, not all of the games are available on Atari 50, so it's probably one of those collections definitely worth having a look at. It certainly pleasantly surprised me. Anyway guys, let me know your thoughts if you've bought this collection. What do you think of it? Thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you again in the next one. Bye for now.